This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Today is Thursday, July the 18th, 2024. We're so glad you could join us. Coming up a little later on in the program, I'll run down some of the Ag News headlines for you. But first, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, we're at the end of another trading day, and it is time to talk with Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. And Kaden, let's start with the grains. What did we see come out of those markets today?
Yeah, a lot of more of the same. Unfortunately, corn continuing lower, although we are continuing to, somewhat hold a bit of support here above $4 on December, but down 6.5 again here today. Beans were down early. Did manage to close green by a penny or so, but overall, pretty quiet trade all around. Just not a lot of news to feed this market right now.
And one thing we're noticing, Kaden, and we were talking about this morning, I know the soybean basis and a lot of elevators, at least down here in Iowa, have been jumping in significantly. Is there any thought on what that might be? Is it just they're trying to fill up some loads yet, or is there some kind of a trend that we should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, that's you're exactly right. That's a pretty common theme we found across the Midwest as bean basis, getting pretty strong. And typically that comes this time of year when, elevators and plants are having a hard time sourcing beans, having a hard time getting them probably out of the farmer's hand. Thought maybe we'd see in the quarterly stocks report at the end of June, tighter bean stocks. Because of that, that wasn't really the case. So that kind of leads me to think that, assuming that report is accurate, that really farmers are just, pretty tight with what they do have, not willing to let it go yet at these prices, and the elevators have to work pretty hard to pry it out of their hands.
And getting, we're about the halfway point when you think about it, just give or take a few weeks here and there to the end of the growing season. I mean, are farmers, pushing the envelope a little by holding this grain as long as they are, or is it still a pretty smart move for them to just wait and so see if they can get what they want for it?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a pretty rich risk, but at the same time, you kind of get to the point where you've held it this long, you're just going to continue to hold it and hope something better happens. I would say the majority of farmers don't have the storage available to be able to hold new crop, on top of old. I think the number that can is very few. And so, you got to be a little bit careful of obviously holding on too long and getting into new crop basis and seeing that fall. Every once in a while, you will find a processor or somebody, bidding strong for corn the first week of harvest. I guess you could, certainly hope to catch a bid there. But at the same time, I do think you're playing with fire a little bit, holding, too much longer into the calendar.
Are we seeing farmers hold on to, let's say, corn, with the prices being as low as they are? Are we seeing it holding it on and trying to feed it back into some livestock operations, or is it just kind of a holding game, you think?
I think it's a holding game overall, really. I mean, if you look at what the farmer has on hand, it's much higher than what they historically do. Still in the bin, or they have ownership of, basically. And so I think, again, this market year looking back is just kind of a strange one where we made the highs during harvest for the rest of the year, and we've just been down ever since. You almost never see that. And so any grain that went into a bin during harvest, the farmer wanted something better, and it's just not coming. So they've continued to sit on it until, unfortunately, we've reached the point where we're at right now.
All right, so let's move over to that livestock side of things. We know cattle's been riding a high for as long as they can. Hogs have been trying to grab onto any kind of footing that they can find. I mean, has that been more of the same today, or what did we see out of the cattle and hogs?
Yeah, cattle showing $2 lower across fats and feeders today. Hogs up about 30 cents or so. But on the cattle side, we keep flirting with the channel that we've been in really since April. It's kind of an uptrending channel where we go up and test the top trend line and come down and check the bottom. And so right now we're riding along that bottom trend line. If history continues to stay like it has these last few months, that ought to provide some good support and continue to bounce off that trend line. On the hog side, we've rebounded nicely from the gap lower last week. We'd like to continue to see that grow, but I would be taking some risk management practices there if I was a hog producer.
All right. Well, if folks want to talk about some of the things that they've got available, options they got available, rather, with the folks at agmarket.net, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yep, just go to agmarket.net. You can reach myself, anyone from the team there, as well as check out the new website, the new app. Everything you need to be right there.
All right, Kaden, we thank you so much for the insight. We'll talk to you again next week.
Appreciate it, Dustin. Have a good one.
That again was Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. Let's take a look at the closing numbers now on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen. September corn down 6 3/4 at 391 1/4. August beans up 1 1/4 at 1098 1/2. Soy meal down $1.90 at 337.20. Soy oil 24 cents higher at 46.45. Chicago wheat down 4 cents at 535 1/4. Kansas wheat up 1 3/4, 562 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat up 8 3/4 at $6.50. Oats up 5 3/4 at 330 1/2. Live cattle for August down $2.02 at 182.25. Feeders down $2.32 at 256.22. Lean hogs down 27 cents at 91.37. Pork cutouts up 35 cents at 102.45. Class 3 milk is up 39 cents at 2016. And that's been a check of our ag market recap. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, we run down some ag news headlines. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Let's run down some ag news headlines. The Clean Fuels Alliance delivered a formal notice of their intent to sue the Environmental Protection Agency over its failure to timely issue the 26 Renewable Fuel Standard RVOs. By statute, they have to be released 14 months before they would take effect, which means they have to have it done by October of this year. However, earlier this year, the Office of Management and Budget released a statute and deregulatory actions list and said that the EPA would not be issuing anything until March of 2025, and that there wouldn't be any finalization until December of next year, only 4 weeks before they would go into effect. According to the Clean Fuels Alliance, that this has totally been a failure to issue any volumes, which compounds the problem that they've had since the EPA took over issuing the volume requirements. Since 23, the numbers have been too low. And so the EPA has said it was going to ensure it's going to meet its deadline for the 2026 rule and get it back on track. Clean fuel tax credits. We've been talking about them with sustainable aviation fuel and clean fuel production tax credits with the 45Z, for example, have been something that farmers could use to definitely benefit and lower carbon emissions. However, it seems like many of these benefits are out of reach for many U.S. farmers. 4 groups, including the American Farm Bureau, the Soybean Association, National Corn Growers, and the Farmers Union, sent a letter to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and the Office of Management and Budget Director Shalonda Young, urging them to ensure that the Clean Fuel Production Credit, 45Z, works for U.S. farmers. They said without clear domestic feedstock requirements in the tax credit, the benefits of the policy at risk of being diverted away from American farmers. There's no current requirement that feedstocks will be grown domestically, which means foreign feedstocks could take advantage before American ones could. Finally, today, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association is looking for the next great singing sensation to open up CattleCon 25 in Austin, Texas, February 4th through the 6th. The 12th annual National Anthem Contest is accepting entries through October 15th at convention.ncba.org. A contest winner will get to perform the Star Spangled Banner at the convention's opening general session and receive round-trip airfare to San Antonio in a hotel room for 3 nights, complimentary convention registration, plus a pair of boots, jeans, and a shirt from Roper or Stenson. Any member of the NCBA, American National Cattlewomen, or the Cattlemen's Beef Board or family members are eligible to participate. And that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com, including replays of the Pods of Potential podcast, Iowa Ag Matters, and all of our daily programs. You can also sign up for our free market analysis sent 3 times a day to your mobile device through the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network Market Podcast. Openings, middays, and closings all available through Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the iARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Quentin Slater, Riley Smith, Andy Peterson, and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.